The Bird's Nest. Written by Jessica Malordi. Illustrated by Gabor Utomo. Focus question. What is the importance of bird nests in this story? It's Saturday, and Rima is watching cartoons. I'm bored, Rima complains to her mother. This show is boring. So change the channel, her mother says. TV will help you learn English faster. As soon as those words are out of her mother's mouth, Rima braces herself for the words she knows will follow. Because this is our home now, Rima's mother says. You know that, don't you, Habibti? I know, Mama, Rima sighs. I know. This time last year, when Rima was 8, home was a tent surrounded by other tents. The year before that, home was the side of the road, a storm-tossed boat, a stranger's basement. It was wherever they happened to lay their heads at night. The year before that, though, when Rima was 6, home was a house in a city called Aleppo, in the country of Syria. Home had a big window in the kitchen where black and white-tailed birds came to roost. It had a carpet in the living room that smelled of honey and flour, and a bedroom with a perfect view of the moon. What is a refugee? A refugee is a person who is forced to leave his or her country to seek safety in another country. The term comes from the word refuge, which means a safe place, the very thing that refugees are in search of. Refugees flee their country to escape danger, natural disaster, or trouble that they face because of their ethnicity, religion, or political beliefs. Refugees usually leave behind their family and friends, homes and communities, and even their culture. In the case of Rima and her mother, they left Syria because of civil war. Since 2011, millions of Syrian families have fled their country and become refugees all over the world. Now, home is here, a tiny apartment in America, with a mother who speaks in a hushed voice whenever she mentions Syria. Rima wishes she wouldn't tiptoe around the reality. War came to Aleppo long before they left, and it has only gotten worse. They are never going back. There is nowhere to go back to. Rima, come here, calls her mother, and Rima does. The kitchen counter is covered with baking sheets, a sack of sugar, pistachios. We're going to bake today? Rima asks. After a week at school learning English, it feels good to speak Arabic. Tomorrow, there will be a bake sale at the community center, Rima's mother explains. Bake sale? Rima asks. What's that? Those of us who are new here will bake our favorite sweets from Syria, her mother says. Americans will come to buy them and try sweets from our homeland. Her mother opens the refrigerator and pulls out a box of phyllo dough noodles. Rima grabs a handful of pistachios and begins to crush them into smaller pieces. They haven't baked together in forever, and they are making bird's nest baklava. When they are done, the chopped pistachios will sit inside the pastry, just like little eggs in a doughy nest. Rima is delighted. She begins to hum an old song she loves from home. The next day, the community center is crowded and noisy. Syrian families unpack their baked goods on folding tables. Everywhere Rima turns, she sees the sweets of her childhood, and beyond them, a long line of American families waiting. What if they don't like Syrian baking? Their customers ooh and ah, though, pointing at the trays. "What are these called?" they ask in English before trying to repeat the food names in Arabic. It's fun, Rima thinks, to teach someone else a new language for a change. "Delicious," they say, one by one, after biting into the baklawa, and Rima blushes with pride. Rima and her mother return the next week and the next. Their bird's nest baklawa are the bake sale's star treat. "What's your secret ingredient?" another family asks. But there is none. Just the joy Rima and her mother share in the kitchen. Joy and peace after 3 years living as refugees, never settled or safe enough to bake together. One week, a boy named Andy from Rima's school stops by her table with his family. "At my house in Aleppo, birds built nests just like this outside our kitchen window," Rima tells him. "Can we buy some, Dad?" Andy asks. "Yislamo," says Rima automatically when Andy hands her the dollar bills. "Sorry," she adds, blushing. "Yislamo is how we say thank you in Syria." "Yislamo, then," says Andy, lifting her baklawa with a grin before taking a big bite. Thus begins a tradition. They don't talk at school. He plays during recess with the other boys, and Rima spends half the day learning English. But every weekend, Andy and his family return to the bake sale. Each time, Andy asks Rima how to say something new in Arabic. Hello, goodbye, you're welcome. How much does this cost? Rima says the words clearly and slowly. Andy's accent is awful, but she knows not to poke fun. Rima doesn't like it when the kids at school tease her about her English. One day, Rima tells Andy all about how, when she was little, she would pick pistachios straight from her grandparents' tree. "You must miss it there," Andy says, and suddenly, Rima's eyes fill with tears. Ashamed, she ducks her head. If he notices, though, he doesn't let on. Instead, he just smiles. A kind smile, Rima thinks, and waves goodbye. Afterward, as they pack up, Rima's mother says, "Habibti, who is that boy who always talks to you? A friend?" "No," Rima mumbles, "just a boy from school." That week, during recess, Rima is reading on a bench when somebody taps her on the shoulder. She turns, shielding her eyes from the sun. "It's Andy." "I want to show you something," he says. "Okay," Rima says. It takes a moment for her brain to shift from reading in Arabic to speaking English. He points to the woods behind the school, and the two walk toward them together. "Look," Andy says, and points again. Rima gasps. Nestled in some blackberry brambles is a bird's nest. The two of them look more closely, Inside the nest sit 4 perfectly speckled eggs. Wow, Rima breathes. Andy nods. They really do look just like your baklava, he whispers. I wonder if they will all live close to home once they hatch, Rima says, or fly far away to somewhere new. Birds of a feather flock together, Andy says. Rima has never heard the saying before. What does that mean? She asks. It means when you're friends with someone, you spend time together. Andy shoves his hands in his pockets. Rima, he says, I know you're sad to have left your first home behind, but I want you to know that here in your new home, you are... He pauses shyly. You are my Sadiq, he says at last. Did I say that right? Sadiq? Rima grins. Of course, she tells him. And though his Arabic sounds as awkward as ever, she means the words with all her heart. There's no wrong way to say friend. Connections. Writing. Write a recipe for a favorite food dish in your family. Social studies. Make a map of Syria. Include major cities, landmarks, rivers, and the countries that border it.